Assembly Member Garrett.
Morning. So when you're oh, has my microphone gone funny? Is that better?
I think.
Yeah. When you're thinking about what savings you might be looking to make in your budget next year, one of the things I would urge you not to consider would be some scheme of compensation for private hire vehicle drivers who have been extremely badly treated. I'm sure you're aware that this has been going on now for maybe a year, where TfL introduced a scheme where private hire drivers, or minicab drivers, have to be not only licensed, obviously, as a driver, but to be able to drive as a minicab driver. TfL introduced this system, and with a renewal process, which is perfectly a reasonable thing to want to do to make sure they're fit and proper people to do that important job, but then completely let those people down by failing to renew. There's an enormous backlog. I mean, even the most recent update we had was 2 days ago. There's still over 400 people whose license to drive a PHV vehicle has expired, and it's just sitting with TfL to process. And this is putting people in a position of almost destitution, because they're still on the hook to pay for the leasing costs and all the fixed costs of having the car, which they are then not legally allowed to use entirely because of TfL. What I would urge you to consider when you're looking at the pressures on your budget is that there should be, this year or next year, some form of compensation for those drivers who've been extremely badly treated by TfL through no fault of their own.
Well, Chair, I'm not sure if there's a word he said I disagree with in terms of the importance of using public money sensibly, but also recognising the wrong done to these individuals and, by extension, their families through no fault of their own. And as he said, for the best of intentions, TfL sought to change the system, plus there was a cyber attack. But he's right, drivers are being let down, so I can give him that reassurance. And can I, again, thank the way he said what he said, both the substance and the way he said it.
Give me the reassurance that there will be a compensation scheme for those drivers.
I beg your pardon, sorry. I can give you that reassurance. I think I've given the assurance in the past, and I've got a detailed answer which I'll send him in writing because of time reasons, because he's got a question later on about the steps TfL have taken and what they will seek to do in relation to addressing the compensation which some PHV drivers deserve for the reasons he set out.
So is there a timeline on when we might see that compensation?
I would hope by the end of this year we'll be able to set out the details. The priority, I've said to TfL, is sort the licences out in the backlog, so it's the same human beings that have been involved in the compensation. He'll appreciate that probably more value in the short term. The focus is that, and so once we think we're in a better position with that, I think it's a 10-day turnaround now, I can give him the guarantee that those same officers will be looking into a compensation scheme to address the points he's made.
By the end of this year?
I'd hope so.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Assembly Member Georgiou.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I hope you're well, and apologise for my voice. I always get overly excited when I see you, and my voice does all sorts of things when I'm near you. But Mr. Mayor, talking of budget savings, for the last 9 years, all you've done is moan and whine and say that it's always someone else's fault for the things that you have to do. But possibly one of the budget savings you could have made was the cost of your Africa trip, which cost the taxpayer £83,000. You took an entourage of 11 staff to South Africa alone. Can you explain, by the way, this was on business class, so good for you. I hope they took care of you on the flight. Can you explain why such a large team was essential, or does streamlining only ever apply to everyone else's footprint but yours?
Chairs, you'll be aware there's a question on this later on, which I'm happy to respond to. Now, I was proud to visit Africa earlier this year, the first Mayor of London to lead a trade mission to that important continent. It's the role of the Mayor of London to champion the capital as an exceptional place to live, work, study and invest in. The purpose of the visit was to promote London, support growth, generate new trade and investment opportunities, and deepen our cultural links with some of the fastest growing cities in the world. To maximise the impact of this visit, our growth agency, London and Partners, hosted a trade delegation of 25 London-based companies through the Grow London Global Programme, helping businesses expand and access opportunities in African markets. In 2024, trade between the UK and Africa was worth £50 billion, with UK exports up 7% year-on-year, making the UK and London in particular one of Africa's most significant trading partners.
Mr. Chairman, what does this have to do with budget savings? I was asking about budget savings. He's responding to my written question.
I think if you let the Mayor finish, you might get an answer.
Well, might not.
Well,
what does this have to do with the question, which is about budget savings?
You're building up to it, Mr. Mayor.
I'm really surprised the member doesn't realise that if businesses are successful and thrive, they pay more in taxes, including business rates, which means more money for our budget. I'm happy to organise a.
Well, there we go. That was a response related to the question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much. So then I do wonder, given that's your thinking, you know, how useless must be the Foreign Secretary and the International Development Secretary, or whoever it is these days. I mean, they're turning around so fast I can't tell, that they have to send you instead.
Well, I think the fact that when there was previous foreign secretaries, the previous mayor went on double the visits I've been on. I think he went on 37 foreign trips in 8 years. He explains both the previous mayor. By the way, I don't get up to what he got up to when he goes on foreign trips. I hasten.
Well, we could be here all day if we're going down what the old blonde bombshell used to do. But Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Chair, no, his voice changed. There.
Only because I'm near you. How many times do we have to go through this, Mr. Mayor? So, look, I would say, Mr. Mayor, why did you have to go business class? Why did taxpayers have to fund your lavish trips in that way? Can't you fly with the rest of us normally?
Chair, a number of the legs of that trip were economy class.
Did you fly business class, yes or no?
One of the legs was business class, I think, Chair. I'm trying to find out. They're trying to get the table. I'm more than happy to say it. So let me find it now. 1 second.
Well, look, I'll leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, and I'll try and improve my voice for my next question. Thank you so much.
Economy. I can list out the economy flights if he wants me to. Okay.
Assembly Member Baker.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to briefly follow up on Assemblymember Garrett's question about the private hire drivers, the delays in relicensing and potential compensation. I'd really support some scheme that recognises the hardship that, as we've all seen and we've talked about in this chamber before, the hardship for those drivers who have been unable to work for periods of time. What my concern is, my priority concern is that the problem continues, that the liabilities of what that compensation scheme continue to go up. We're not seeing significant drops in the numbers of drivers. I've raised this with you before. I've put it in writing to Deputy Mayor for Transport. I'm waiting for a meeting with him to discuss it in detail, because we're still seeing, as I said to you before, hundreds of drivers at any one time unable to work with no additional delays on their part. The last number that we had from TfL, which was only last week, was 400. So it's 400, not waiting for any tests or anything like that. So that's additional potential claims for compensation. Why is TfL not getting on top of this? And can you give us a further assurance that you look into why these specific delays just seem not to be going away?
Which raises various points there. Firstly, we're talking about a level of PHV drivers that are at record levels in terms of tens of thousands of drivers. So in percentage terms, it's quite small. There's a very good reason why there's been a big increase in drivers applying for renewals. It's because the first cohort of drivers who new drivers in 2013, when the app came into use, all joined them, and so the 4-year, 3-year periods have all come at a similar time, which is why there's a large number of drivers are asking for renewals. TfL has added additional staff to that team, I think 40 staff to that team, to try and address the issue. It's also, there's been a big change in terms of the requirement for assessments, which wasn't the case previously. So in addition to a normal application for renewals and the forms that are going to be processed, there's checking that the assessments have been passed by the relevant driver, checking there's no additional medical issues in relation to the driver, and sometimes there's an exchange of information between TfL and the driver. That being said, TfL is prioritising resources on renewing drivers by expiration date. The turnaround is now 10 working days, but because of the reasons I've said before, I do recognise there is an issue in relation to those drivers whose licences were renewed in an untimely fashion, and as a consequence have suffered a loss. And that's why I've asked TfL to look into the issue of compensation for those drivers.
I just would like to say, and I welcome your commitment on this, and I welcome your continued interest in it, but these are the answers that I get from TfL, and they don't stack up, and I would ask you to get the figures that the Transport Committee see, which are, and specifically ones that have nothing to do with the medical, nothing to do with any outstanding tests, no outstanding information whatsoever needed, just waiting for TfL to turn it around, and those have consistently been in the hundreds all the way back to July, all the way since we started raising this. This is a genuine problem. I cannot seem to get to the bottom of it, and I would really urge you to go back and have a look at what exactly is going on.
Well, the member raises really important points because she's been approached by constituents, I'm sure, who's suffering the consequences.
We all are, yes.
Can I arrange for the relevant team in TfL to meet with her to discuss this issue, because she deserves proper reassurances. She's also right. This issue's been raised for some time, which is one of the reasons why I asked TfL to sort this out. And so let's organise that meeting, and then she can, using her other hats, Transport Committee, also raise with me as well, or offline, if that's okay.